Hello. Thank you for joining us for Shining Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. This is episode 42, and we are focusing on managing New Year expectations with self-kindness. My name is Neil Parekh. I'm a co-host and producer, and my co-host is Dawn Newberg.
That's me.
Not Dawn Helmrich Newberg, but Dawn Newberg.
Yep.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Dawn, on the name change.
Thank you.
You're still catching up, I assume, on getting all the paperwork, changing it everywhere, etc.
Yeah, we just went to the DMV 2 days ago and got my driver's license changed. So
okay.
Now that my social security card and my driver's license say Dawn Newberg, everything else is pretty easy. So
that's good. That's good. And then at some point you'll have to update all your socials.
Yes.
So they all have the right name on it.
Yes. Yes.
We are, of course, live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and my website. We're live on both of our Instagram accounts and both of our Facebook accounts. So encourage folks to like, comment, share, and retweet, tag your friends, let them know about today's show. An important note, just in terms of housekeeping, we had a guest planned for today, Kirby Hansen-McNulty. She was going to join us for this conversation about New Year's and managing New Year expectations. Unfortunately, she is ill and is not able to join us. So Dawn and I will have to carry the show, and we hope to get Kirby back on at a later date. But we thank everyone for joining us, and want to let folks know, of course, that this show is produced with pro bono support from Digimentors, the production company, the social media firm that my good friend Sri Srinivasan started several years ago. I'm proud to be a vice president of events and communications. We do shows like this, strategic communications, trainings, and workshops. Always thankful for the support I get from Digimentors. And of course, it is still hard for me to believe, Dawn, that this is episode 42 of this series. It started almost, we're coming up on 2 years. We're in year 3. It was 2 years ago when we actually started. It's been quite a ride.
It has, definitely has.
I know that I was talking with someone earlier today. I couldn't believe that before we started, I never talked about my own mental health in public spaces. I never shared that I suffered from anxiety or depression, or that I saw a therapist. And what's really interesting for me is that it's kind of a full circle moment, because our next show, February 12th, is going to feature Dr. Michael Kane. He was my therapist in Seattle, where I lived for 15 years. He's going to talk about Black mental health, trauma, and its impacts across the lifespan. And of course, February is Black History Month. But Dawn, I can't tell you how much it means to me that Dr. Kane is joining the show. And for me, going from not even sharing that I see a therapist to having a former therapist on the show is something. Is definitely something.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really great, Neil. I think we've come a long way on this show from our first show to now. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that's great is that we've built up a community of people who join us and comment and watch. last week's show in particular was really great. We focused on the challenges that both of us were having with the start of the new year, and encouraged our audience to fully participate in the show. And they definitely did. It was one of our most engaging shows we've ever done.
Yeah, it was really wonderful and super inspiring that so many people just stepped up to the plate and helped us by collaborating with us and communicating with us. And I'm hoping that we get some of that today too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely going to have a conversation. We're really interested in what folks experience around New Year's. But I want to definitely give a shout out to everyone watching on replay. Thank you for taking the time to come back and watch the show when it was more convenient for you. If 7 p.m. Eastern is not your jam, whether you're busy or whether you have other plans. There are people I know in Europe who it's the middle of the night for them, and they'll come back and watch later. I do want to give a quick shout out to my mom watching from Tampa, Florida. Mom, thank you for joining as always. Always appreciate it. So Dawn, as far as New Year's is concerned, one thing that's interesting is that it's almost past the point where people say Happy New Year's, right? We're about 3 weeks into the year. It's almost February, which is hard to imagine. What is your experience with New Year's resolutions? Do you make them? Do you work hard to keep them? What's your take?
So I am not a New Year's resolution person. And Neil, you and I have talked about this. I used to make New Year's resolutions, probably in my late 20s and early 30s. And notoriously, I would get to right about this time in January and, fall off the wagon. Whatever my New Year's resolution was, whether it was to exercise 3 days a week or to lose weight or to stop doing something that I had been doing, reduce sugar, I don't, whatever it might be. And I learned that it was really hard on my mental health. I would feel very much like I had failed myself, and I didn't like that feeling at all. And someone once said to me, well, you're copping out, like you're not holding yourself accountable. That's why you don't like making New Year's resolutions. And it really isn't that. I think that, you should take time throughout the entire year to assess where you're at, what you're doing, what you want to do more of or better at. And that rollover from one year to the next doesn't have to be the end all be all of how you make changes in your life and do things in your life. And I think that it's normal and natural to set goals for yourself and to check in on what those goals are. And I think we all make mistakes and we slip up, or we, treat ourselves, or we modify what our original intention was. I think sometimes people are like, I'm going to go to the gym every single day. And some of those things are just unrealistic expectations. So if you do set resolutions for yourself, you need to make sure that they're realistic expectations, and that you're not setting yourself up for failure. What are your thoughts and feelings, Neil, about resolutions?
I think avoiding setting yourself up for failure is the key to that. I do want to, before I chime in, want to give a big shout out to Jim Newberg, who is in the living room. That way, I guess.
That way is correct.
That way in your space. I also want to give a shout out to Sri Srinivasan, who's watching on Instagram. Sri, thank you for watching, and in particular, thank you both for supporting the show and the conversation we're having around mental health, and also for the support you've given me personally over the last several years. Very much appreciate it. We also have a comment from Stefan Kaplan, a former guest on the show and a colleague at Digimentors. Stefan says, always great to be here to listen, learn, and support. As per the topic, I've never been one to set New Year's resolutions. I like you, Neil, and I'm constant. I like you, Neil. I thought you liked me too, but am constantly reinventing myself, and that is always enough of a challenge. I just do the best I can to add new skills and try new things. That's a great comment, Stefan, and a great segue for me to answer the question. My challenge, my issue is that, first of all, as you said, January 1st is somewhat arbitrary in terms of an inflection point of when things should change. But more importantly, as Stefan alluded to and I shared on social media, I feel like I'm always trying to change or reinvent myself. Part of it, a lot of it comes, I realize now, from having ADHD and this idea of trying to optimize everything around me and myself. I don't feel like I have a consistent approach, and therefore it always can be improved. And I'm kind of throughout the year. I mean, it's an odd analogy, but it's kind of like growing up. I used to always rearrange the furniture in my room in high school and also in college, just randomly. Because I thought it could be better. I thought it could be different and it would make a difference. Or I would change the way that I organized my notebooks or kept my to-do lists or what have you. And that's frankly pretty tiring to be in that constant state of churn. The other challenge, and this is something that I picked up in a group coaching session recently. We had a great conversation last week, Dawn, about the start of the new year, and both you and I have had some challenges coming out of that arbitrary date around January 1st. I was stuck for about 10 days, and someone shared that January, winter, is actually not the time for renewal or starting fresh. Biologically and for other mammals, it's a time for hibernation. It's a time for slowing down, of kind of hunkering down, getting through the winter. And then as you approach spring, that's more a rebirth type of time. And certainly in the summer, when things are more active and you can kind of be out there. And so I feel like there's a lot of pressure around New Year's, around changing things up, trying to lose weight or eat better or sleep better or what have you. And when you look across social media feeds, it's all about New Year's this, New Year's that, new you. I don't think that helps anyone. I think it makes things more challenging for folks.
Yeah. And, I go to Anytime Fitness, just your basic local gym or whatever. And, all over the chalkboards and the whiteboards at the gym, it's all about new you, new look, new this, new that. And, I have to say, I feel like we should be comfortable with who we are year round, right? Like, I don't like, I'm kind of offended by all of this, new you kind of stuff. I just think that there's so much pressure to be a certain size, to look a certain way, to eat a certain way, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be healthy, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay attention to what you put in your body, and that you shouldn't exercise, and that you shouldn't do all those things. I'm a firm believer in being healthy. What I do think, though, is that there's so much pressure from society to act, look, be, think a certain way, that it makes us uncomfortable with ourselves. And I have a problem with that. I have a hard enough time being comfortable in my own skin on a daily basis. So to be bombarded with all of these like different things, and Neil, you and I have talked a lot about menopause and aging, and
Yeah.
I'm not getting any younger, and my facial features and my hair and my body type all shows that I'm not getting any younger. And this idea that I have to look, act, be a certain way, it makes me feel consistently like I'm failing at myself. And so for me, New Year's resolutions and like not being comfortable with who I am just puts all that more pressure on me to be something that is like physically not possible for me anymore. I'm not 25. I can go to the gym, and I can go to the gym 5 days a week and eat really, really healthy, and that doesn't take away my menopause belly. That doesn't change the lines on my face, or it doesn't stop my hair from falling out, all of those kinds of things. So for me, that pressure just seems to be too much.
We talked about that at length in our last episode of the year on post-menopause and mental health. Dr. Ellen was with us, and I think she introduced the idea, at least in this context, of New Year's resolutions being a fool's errand to a certain extent. That it really everything that you said, that there's too much an emphasis, particularly on women who are dealing with these issues that you described so well, to look a certain way, to feel a certain way, to act a certain way, and it just reinforces the idea that you shouldn't, that you're somehow incomplete, or not comfortable in your own skin. And I know she really emphasizes the idea of taking a step back and just calming things down a little bit. Being okay, not having to push yourself to look like you did 20 years ago, or move like you did, to just be healthy, to be balanced. So I want to say a quick hello. Kaveri is watching, saying hello to Neil and Dawn. Again, Kaveri is a friend from our social media world, but more importantly, she's usually in Ireland. And so, this show, although she was always great about sharing it on social media, it was not something that she could watch live. But she's in Villanova for the semester. She's an author herself, and she is able to join us, which is great. So thank you, Kaveri. Always great to have you on. Also want to give a shout out to my sister, Amy, watching from Bellevue, Washington, rather. And she gives you an amen to what you were saying, Dawn. and Kavri, supports that as well, that all of this is driven by advertisers with no care for their readers and viewers. It's really such a commercial driven, corporate driven exercise. For folks who are just joining us, I just want to let you know that unfortunately our guest for this evening's show, Kirby Hansen-McNulty, was not able to join us because she took ill. And we certainly hope to have her on a later episode. But this topic was something that Dawn and I both felt strongly about, that we wanted to continue with the show anyway, and have this conversation. So we're curious, for the folks who are watching live, what is your experience with New Year's resolutions? Good, bad, or ugly? Do you make them? Do you struggle to keep them? Have you sworn them off completely? Stefan shared earlier that he shared some of my feelings about it, that he's constantly reinventing himself, and that's always enough of a challenge. He just tries to do the best he can on a day-to-day basis. So if you have your own experience with New Year's resolutions, and as we usually say, if you disagree with us, that's okay. We're not trying to create an echo chamber where we're trying to have everyone hate on New Year's resolutions. They may work for you. They may serve a purpose for you. If this is the right time for you to make changes in your life and to address issues that are challenging for you, by all means. We just want to also make sure that there is a space for people who don't feel that way and are concerned about that. I think that one of the things that I think about often, Dawn, is that it's not just New Year's for me. It's not just January 1st, but I have this idea of different markers throughout the year. In particular, I still think about the academic calendar, right? And Labor Day, and after school should start after September. I'm just going to say that after Labor Day. Here in Virginia, it starts 2 and 3 weeks before, which is really bonkers for me. But kind of after Labor Day, there's a certain sense of, okay, summer's done. You had your fun. Get back into it, right? Whether it's work, whether it's school, whatever it may be. And that was challenging for Pam and I when we lived in Seattle, because the University of Washington was on a quarter system, and they started in October. So we'd have Labor Day, the big kind of restart, but then we'd have another month of kind of downtime before things got busy. But I also feel it, Monday mornings, after the weekend, okay, I got whatever I did whatever I could over the weekend. Now I get a chance to start over again. And it's kind of that constant, kind of feeling of hitting reset. I also feel that at the beginning of the month, looking back at how I did last month on certain projects, and okay, I can now start over and do things different, better, etc. Amy is sharing that this is one of the few years when I've not made New Year's resolutions. I'm just working on my goals, and the proof is in the pudding. Looking forward to that pudding, Amy, when it's done. I know that you're working on several long-term goals, and I think that's an important part, right? Is making sure that you're ready personally and like internally to make change. It may not be January 1st, but if you're putting the groundwork in place, change will happen when it's supposed to happen, not arbitrarily. And when she clarifies, when she says the proof is in the pudding, What I mean is that it's in the daily work that we do with the highs and the lows, the struggles and everything else. That is absolutely true, Amy. Dawn and I can both talk about highs and lows and struggles and everything. I'll share for folks who we talked about last week about how difficult the new year was to start. My my timeline, if you will, was that I was stuck for about 10 days at the beginning of the year. And then last Wednesday and Thursday, something clicked and I was hyper focused and super productive and got a lot of things done and went through the weekend and had a good Monday. And then on Tuesday, I woke up and I didn't have hard deadlines. I only had like 1 or 2 phone calls. I couldn't get going. I couldn't do anything. And I stayed up really late. That I started working that night at like 9 o'clock, and then I kept myself up after that. I had a 4-hour burst, and then I was kind of unproductive again, and it just kind of up and down. I've referred to it recently. The analogy that comes to mind is I have 2 speeds. You know, if I'm like a car, it's a push button. I have a very fast and a very slow. And the problem is that I don't always feel like I'm in control of what button is being pressed. You know, I'm not always happy with the speed that I'm going. Sometimes it's, I'd like to slow down and I just can't. That's some of the challenges I have with that. My mom has a interesting comment that a lot of people may make resolutions. They follow them for a few months and then they give up. I think it's actually even shorter than that. I think there are a lot of people who don't make it to the end of the month. And then you're set up. You feel like you're a failure, and now you're starting the year feeling bad about yourself because you didn't live up to that expectation. That doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, I think, you know, Neil, I think we've talked about this, like my son, and this has to do with school, but it has also to do with like failing expectations. My son used to talk about how difficult, or how he thought that the grading system in schools was horrible because everybody starts out with a 4.0, right? But the minute you don't get that A, you suddenly are no longer 4.0, and that feeling of failing comes into play. And my son was very much of a perfectionist, and so he put a lot of pressure on himself. And the minute that 4.0 was no longer an option because he got an A- on a test, it was like that need to give up because you didn't meet that expectation is pretty large. And that's kind of how I feel about New Year's resolutions. Like if you say you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week and 1 week you only make it 2 times, and you're like, oh, well, I screwed that up. That resolution, it hasn't been met. I guess I'm not going to go to the gym 3 times a week because I didn't make it there, you know? And to me, I think we've talked, Neil, about intentions versus resolutions. Like my intention is that I get to the gym 3 times a week. It's a really good intention. But if I don't make it because I have some work thing that happens, or it's, you know, sub-zero temperatures like it is right now in Wisconsin, and I don't want to get in my car and freeze myself to death, that my intention is still there and the intention is good. And I can have that same intention moving forward for the next week. And I can let that I didn't make it to the gym 3 times this week, I can let that go and have my intentions still be valid for the coming week, and then I don't feel as much of a failure as I would if my resolution was that I needed to make it to the gym 3 times a week for the rest of the year or whatever.
Well, that's something that I've talked about, that I've learned about as a challenge for people who have ADHD. This all or nothing thinking, where if whether it's a resolution or an intention or a goal, in your case, the 3, going to the gym 3 times a week, and then let's say 1 week you only make it twice, at least, and when I use an example like this, what I've come to understand is that people with ADHD experience this to a greater degree than people who don't have ADHD, but it doesn't mean that people who don't have ADHD don't experience it as well. It's just a question of frequency or intensity. But the idea is that if you miss that, 1 week, you only hit twice, it blows everything up. Oh, it's over. It's done. I didn't make it, and it's all, it's not worth it anymore. As opposed to, I didn't make it 3 times this week. There's always next week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It might next week. It's one of those. It's like, you break one egg and you throw out the whole carton. You don't need to do that. I do want to read a comment off from your Instagram, Dawn. So I'm going to look off screen for just a moment.
Yep.
Kimberly Harrigan is watching, and I don't know if Kimberly, or if they just found your feed. But Kimberly says, I'd never been successful in the past with resolutions in the past, but last year I decided to get healthy and lost 85 pounds. Kimberly, congratulations. That's great. That shows a lot of hard work in doing that. So in light of that success, I set another resolution for an additional 25 pounds for this year. And so, as I mentioned earlier, if you have had a positive experience with resolutions, we want to celebrate that as well. It's something that works for some people, doesn't work for others. Obviously, it worked really well for Kimberly and helped her, help them with motivation, etc. We have a comment from our friend Kate, who is down there, I guess.
Yep.
On your side. Kate and Dawn live in the same house. Kate is a very close friend, and I consider her a friend as well since I've met her. She's a former guest on the show. And she says, time off around the holidays gives me space to reflect. And since it coincides with the start of a new year, I don't focus on resolutions to do better. Rather, I look for something new to try. That's interesting. Kate, if you're willing to share, curious about what you're trying new, either this year or what you've tried in the past. How has that played out for you? Clovery,
pickleball player. Kate's he's a pickleball player. She's not a pickleball
player.
Yes.
Can you say that 5 times fast?
No.
Kate's a pickleball.
I cannot. But she picked up
that's great
pickleball this past year. So I wonder if she's going to say that, because I was like, I can't believe you're playing pickleball, and she really likes it. So
that's good. That's good. As a follow-up to the comment, when I read Kimberly's comment out about the weight loss, she left that comment on Instagram. Clovery commented on Twitter, gave her a wow, Kimberly. So it's just a great example of how when you stream to multiple destinations, even if you don't see the comment in your same platform, by reading off the comments, by integrating them, we have a larger conversation that we're doing. We have a comment from Jim, and Dawn, I'm going to ask you to read that out and see what he says about resolutions.
Yeah, he says, one thing I learned from quitting alcohol and cigarettes is that it doesn't work to set a date. That puts tremendous pressure on me. I have to get to a point where I'm truly ready to go all in. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work for me. I need to get to a place emotionally, mentally, and physically. Then and only then am I successful. And I'm very, very proud of my husband for he just celebrated 21 years of sobriety, and I think 2.5 years without cigarettes. So he really does, when he puts his mind to something, he's great about that. But he does remind me all the time, like, if there's always tomorrow. Like, you can reset yourself and start with that intention the next day if you don't follow through with it on that day. And he had quit smoking previously for like 5 years and then started up again, and had tried multiple times but just didn't feel like he was ready until he got to a place where he just felt ready, and he was done and stopped. So very impressive.
And I think that's great. Jim, congratulations on both those achievements. I know how hard, in terms of how hard it is to quit smoking. My dad was a smoker. And what I'll say, Dawn, is that this kind of thing isn't possible in terms of the more recent history with smoking without the support that I know that you're giving him. But then also the continued sobriety. That's not the kind of thing that you do alone. You need community, you need support from all around you. So kudos to Jim, but also Dawn. Congratulations to you for helping him through that, because I know that's a big part of it. One of the things that I often think about, and I honestly can't remember ever having made a New Year's resolution. Frankly, I'd have to, wonder if I did that back when I was younger. I don't know that I've ever consciously set that kind of a start of the year thing. That's just it just never worked for me. Never worked for me.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know that I ever followed through on any resolution that I ever made because I would give up, right? Because I would, I'd have a bad week, and I'd eat all the snacks, right? And then I'd be like, well, I'm not going to lose weight anyway, so forget it. And then just be like, forget it, and then be done.
Sure. Sure. So as a programming note, I want to make sure folks know that our next show is going to be February 12th, 2026. And it is my incredible just pleasure to announce that our guest will be Dr. Michael Kane. He's a clinical traumatologist based in Seattle, Washington. He'll be talking about Black mental health, trauma, and its impacts across the lifespan. And Dr. Kane was my therapist when we lived in Seattle. And, for me to know that he's going to be on the show, we started the show, Dawn. At that point, I'd never shared that I was seeing a therapist, that I was in therapy, much less that I had anxiety and depression. And now my understanding is that it's ADHD that causes the anxiety and depression. But to go from there to having a public conversation with my former therapist is a real full circle moment, and means a lot to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, and I'm really glad that he was able to make the time and rearrange his schedule so that he could be here during Black History Month as well.
Yeah, it's something that we haven't actually addressed in terms of mental health for African Americans. We've talked a little bit about mental health in the South Asian community, and certainly we've talked about women's mental health several times. But there are a lot of issues around Black mental health that we'll be exploring in our next show. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. For folks who are interested, if you want to get on our mailing list, send me an email, neil@digimentors.group, neil@digimentors.group, and I'll add you to our list. We don't send out a lot of emails, really just the links for the show every 2 weeks. Occasionally, we'll send out a second email so that folks get links to social media posts, etc. But definitely encourage you if you're interested. It's a great way to keep up with what's going on. Kate has another comment that I thought we could share. She says, this year she's working on some new crafts, and yes, trying to branch out and try a new sport, not for competition, just to have fun. I have grace with myself if I don't go, but do try to push myself to be consistent. And I would say, Kate, if you're doing that for those reasons, for trying something new, and not putting that pressure on yourself to excel or to, that type of thing, that's great. Activity is always good. Getting, it's my daughter that keeps encouraging me to touch grass, and I can only say that hopefully I can follow your lead and find some kind of activity like that to get me out a little bit more frequently.
There is no grass to touch here. Absolutely none. It is all covered in white powdery things that we all are frustrated with. I'm
sure. We're looking to get some white stuff as well this weekend, Dawn, in Virginia. There's the whole country is looking like it's getting a major storm or freezing cold weather, but they're talking about a foot of snow in Virginia between Saturday afternoon, like 4 p.m. and almost up to Monday morning.
Wow.
So it's going to be with some potential sleet and heavy wet stuff. So it's not going to be a fun Sunday trying to clean out of that. That'll definitely get some exercise.
Yeah.
Going.
All our schools are closed tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Because of the cold.
Because of the cold.
Yep. Because we're supposed to get minus 40 below wind chills. So they don't want the kids on bus stops, sitting on or standing at bus stops and walking to school. So
that is cold.
Yeah, it is very cold. It's very cold. Yeah, you were talking about hibernating, like this morning, Jim, because right now neither my husband or I has a full-time job. So this morning we were like, do we even want to leave this room today at all? Like, it's just, it's cold and damp and dark, and just hibernating sounds absolutely wonderful for this month. The rest of this month, anyway.
You raise, I think, an important topic, Don, and you've talked about it on the show. This issue of being out of work and looking for a job and applying for things. I think that could very easily set you up or set anyone up to fall into that trap. This year I resolved to get a job by X date, and that's only that can only lead to all sorts of frustration. It's I think a lot of it is around things that it's not just around things you can control, but you can resolve to do your best to open yourself up to possibilities, to reach out to people. But I think it's antithetical. They talk about SMART goals, where it's like measurable, and you could say, I'm going to send out 5 resumes a week or something like that. I'm wondering if that's actually, again, another point of setting people up to fail. If you don't hit 5, if you hit 4, is that okay?
This has been, just such a challenge for me, because I lost my job in August of last year. And I was like, if I don't have a job by October 15th, the world is going to fall apart. Like, I have to have a job by October 15th. And then October 15th came and went. And then I was applying for anything that even remotely I thought that I could do that was, within a decent salary range. And somebody said to me, stop doing that, because you are just getting rejection after rejection after rejection, and that can destroy you. Like, intentionally apply for things that you want to do, that you would be good at. And so there are days when there is nothing, when there's just absolutely nothing. I mean, between December 15th and January 5th, there wasn't a single solitary job that had been posted in the nonprofit sector that I was either qualified for, was in my salary range, or was something that I felt like I could do well. I also spent 2.5 months interviewing for a position that I have yet to hear back about. I interviewed 3 times, and it was down to me and one other candidate, and I still don't know. So, I don't have control over that, right? Like, I don't have control over that. So you're absolutely right when you say, like, I could set a goal to apply for 5 jobs a week, but if there aren't 5 things available for me to apply for, then I am setting myself up for failure, because it just doesn't, and each job takes 2 to 2.5 hours to craft the resume the right way, write a good cover letter, fill out all of the information that the individual employer wants. It's like a full-time job.
Sure. As we're explain to folks what kind of work are you applying for? What would you be able to do?
Well, I've been in the nonprofit sector for the past 20 years, and I've done the past 15 years, I've been in leadership roles, director roles, managing every employees, and doing work around data and outcomes and initiatives, and operations stuff, project management stuff. I've pretty much done the gamut from a funder perspective. So I've gone through grant cycles. I've started and implemented initiatives. I also I adjunct at a college level, so I do some teaching, and so I got a lot of experience with facilitation and presentation, and doing workshops and creating curriculum. I'm in a smattering of many different things, which is probably part of the issue, because it's really hard to have a 2-page resume that says all of that in that resume. But again, I think part of it is that leadership roles are often given internally. So someone gets a promotion from within and goes to a leadership role. So getting leadership roles can be really challenging and difficult because they will often put them out there and then you apply and then they hire someone from within. So that seems to be a lot of like where I'm struggling.
My hope is that for folks who heard that description, if you know of a nonprofit or an organization that might benefit from Dawn's skills, reach out. Any lead is a good lead, and I can certainly give a character reference. I certainly would want Dawn working for my team in any capacity. But Dawn, I think that your 20 years working with United Way of Greater Milwaukee certainly has put you in a position to take on any number of different roles. Just a question of finding that fit and being at the right place in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's really what all we can do is to really be prepared when that happens.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the plug. I know we digressed off of our topic a little bit, but I still think it's relevant. It's all about, what intentions you set up for yourself and how can we set ourselves up for positive reinforcement rather than negative failures.
Sure. I think that one of the things that we should clarify for folks in case they are not aware, Dawn is actually an author as well. Kavri is asking, would you consider writing in the meanwhile? So Dawn is the author of The Blue Flower Curtain, which is an incredible book, and I want to make sure to share that with folks so that they know. The Blue Flower Curtain is available on Amazon, and I would encourage you to check it out. It's the story of trauma that Dawn experienced 31 years ago now. Is my math still mathing?
It's going to be 32 years. Yes.
32 years. I'm having trouble keeping up
I know
with that. But it's certainly a labor of love, and I know that you give workshops and talks around that.
I do. I just did one on Monday.
Right. Just did one.
Yep.
I think the challenge is that writing doesn't pay the bills until you have a book out there and you can actually sell it.
That's the key. You can have a book out there. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to sell it.
Exactly. But I'll share a link for folks in case you're interested. Because I definitely, if anyone doesn't have the book or has not had a chance to read it, I would definitely encourage you to check that out. The Blue Flower Curtain. And Kavri, I'll make sure you get the link in Twitter. Hopefully you can click on that that I shared. What I want to read off for folks as we work on closing up the show is, when I read the book over Christmas break last year. I had 20 minutes, so I started reading it, and then I sat down and I read it straight through, and it was just I thought it was incredible. Frankly, I thought it was incredible. So thank you for taking the time to do that. It certainly couldn't have been easy.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it.
Couldn't have been easy.
I appreciate that.
Here is, and Kavri is doing, I guess those are either clapping emojis or prayer hands. Can't quite tell with these old eyes of mine. But again, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this show, this conversation around managing New Year's expectations, and really the bottom line was doing it with self-kindness to make sure that you however it works for you to approach New Year's, do what works for you, not for everyone else. A little more background on Dawn's book. This review by Tim B on Amazon. Dawn does an amazing job, and I should have mentioned it before I put it on the screen, but this is about her sexual assault. She does not sugarcoat the issues that plagued her following the rape and horrific experience of having to relive it at 3 separate trials. She shares how she battles mental health issues, many forms of heartbreak, and perseveres by helping other survivors. It is difficult to read at some points, but worth reading until the end. Like I said, just an incredible book and an incredible story. So if folks may have joined us late, want to make sure that you know that after we finish the show, you will be able to watch the show from the beginning on the same link that you're watching now, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and YouTube, and on my website. It just takes a few minutes for the show to restart. For folks who are watching on Instagram, encourage you to find it on other channels. Instagram's a little tricky when it comes to live shows, but join us from the beginning. And Shining Light on Shadows is on. We live stream the show twice a month. Usually the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. And we encourage you to come back. Again, the next show is going to be February 12th, and our guest is going to be Dr. Michael Kane, a clinical traumatologist from Seattle, Washington. He's going to be talking about Black mental health, trauma, and its impacts across the lifespan. And I am thrilled to say that he was my therapist when I was in Seattle, and I look forward to introducing everyone to Dr. Kane when he joins us for the show. Kate has a last comment. I can attest that Dawn's workshops are well done. She encourages anyone interested to reach out. She will travel to do a workshop. If it's outside of, 2 or 3 hours, Dawn, you're looking for help with gas money. And if it's further than that, a plane ticket.
Yeah.
We'll travel and talk. So definitely we'll do that. And Kavri says, thank you for the link to Dawn's book. So hopefully we'll get one more sale out of that, Dawn. One more person reading the book.
Nice.
With that, we'll bring this show to a close. Thank you again for joining us. This was episode 42. Still something. Episode 42 of Shining Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. And this conversation was about managing New Year's expectations with self-kindness. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you for all of the support you've given us over the last 2 years. And we are thrilled to be in year 3 of this show.
Thanks, everybody. And practice self-kindness.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye.